Hello, and welcome to Thinking Out Loud. I'm Gloria Polites of LTC, your host for today's show. And with me in the studio is Michael Bloom, who is the Director of Strategy and Innovation at LifeLinks, Inc. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gloria. It's a pleasure to be here.
And a pleasure to have you, too. So tell us a little bit about LifeLinks and what you do there, and then we'll proceed from there.
Sounds good to me. Well, LifeLinks was founded in 1954 by families of children with developmental and intellectual disabilities. It's been around a long time, serving families within the greater Lowell area. Since we've been around for over 60 years, we provide services both day and residential. We have a nice day rehabilitation program in Chelmsford at 285 Mill Road. And we provide residential services in the form of group homes. We have 17 group homes within the greater Lowell area. We provide shared living services, which is matching a person with a developmental disability with a person without a developmental disability to live in their own household apartment with support. And we have individual support services where we have case managers to provide support to individuals. So we need about 4 to 15 hours of support per week. And we have family support services. And we have wonderful case management teams that provide supports to families who are raising children with developmental disabilities. We get our contracts from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services, and I was brought on board as Director of Strategy and Innovation back in August of 2016 in a newly created role to help the agency move forward with its strategic initiatives. And even though we've been providing these services since 1954, the landscape is changing, and as people are aging, and we need to find new ways to provide services. So that's kind of where the innovation comes in.
So you're not serving just children with disabilities anymore? That's a much wider...
Yes, across the lifespan, and because some of the people that started as children are now elderly, and so we have a lot of folks that are aging. And the other thing to know too, a number of people that we support have Down syndrome, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but it used to be people with Down syndrome were not thought to live long.
Right.
The age of 40 would be kind of an outlier, when folks were young to actually think that way. Well, thanks to medical technology, all of us are living longer, including folks with Down syndrome. And unfortunately, if they live long enough, the reward they get is Alzheimer's disease. There's pretty much just about 100% correlation between Alzheimer's and Down syndrome. So it's really important to stay up to speed in terms of what their needs are. And not everybody we support has Down syndrome. That's one developmental disability of many, but it's just we're seeing with the aging of our population that a lot more complex supports are needed to be provided by our staff. And we're eager not to just to be a resource for people in the greater Lowell community, not just that have family members with intellectual or developmental disabilities, but are dealing with the challenges of aging and Alzheimer's or dementia. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come today to speak to you about our new initiative.
Right. So, and that new initiative is?
The new initiative is a memory cafe. Right. One of the first grants that I went after coming on board was an innovation mini grant provided by the Massachusetts Lifespan Respite Coalition and the Federal Administration on Community Living to provide respite support to caregivers within the community.
And respite for audience members that might not know what that is.
Sure. Well, thank you for saying that. Respite is a break. The way to look at it is to get a break, do something that's uplifting, energizing, a break from your normal routine. Okay, so it could be taking a vacation, it could be taking an hour to go read a book while you don't have to worry, or it could be a gathering where you get together with folks for fun and you have support from others and you're not just facing your caregiving challenges alone.
That's important. I think we probably both speak from experience on that end.
Yes, well, absolutely. And so with the Memory Cafe, what we're doing is, with the grant being awarded, we're going to be providing 5 live sessions, evening sessions, where we're going to provide dinner and care partners, meaning a person with Alzheimer's and dementia and their family caregiver. Doesn't matter that they don't need to have had a diagnosis of a developmental disability. This is to anybody in the greater Lowell community. If you're supporting a family member with Alzheimer's or dementia, we want to welcome you and to give you the feeling of creating new positive memories together. So we're going to have dinner. We're going to have some sort of therapeutic fun program, and hopefully you'll leave with a little bit of joy and some new connections, so you can continue walking the path of supporting your loved one and not feel so alone and isolated. And the other part of the grant too was to really focus on special populations. And one of the special populations that we found tends to be very isolated, even more isolated than others, are members of the LGBTQ community. As they're aging, they tend to be more socially separated, and we want to make sure, although the Memory Cafe is open for all, I'm doing some special outreach efforts, such as going to senior social connections for LGBT elders and others, to try to reach out so folks from within that community don't feel so alone, which is why in a lot of our literature that we're using to pass out, we have rainbows, because we represent everyone. So I think these are going to be really wonderful sessions that will leave people energized. And it's really something that's near and dear to my heart, since I served as a family caregiver who cared for both of my elder parents for a number of years, and my dad had vascular dementia. So I know that the journey can be very challenging, exhausting, stressful, and it's important to have these moments where you can come together and know you're not alone.
Absolutely. I was an only child, as you were, so and my mother had dementia. So luckily, I had an aunt that was very helpful as well. But you need that support.
Absolutely.
No question. So where are these going to take place and when?
Sure. So they're going to take place at our corporate office at 285 Mill Road in Chelmsford, which is also where our day habilitation program is. So they're going to be in the evenings from 5 to 7 p.m. We're actually running our first session on January 31st, and then we're going to have monthly sessions March, April, May, and June. So they'll be from 5 to 7 p.m. There'll be dinner available, and like I said, I will be facilitating some sessions, and I'm bringing in some other guest facilitators. We're going to do dancing for wellness, mindfulness, visual journaling with art programming. So we have a variety of things that will be fun. And if you're concerned, people who are watching that have a loved one with Alzheimer's who may not be able to fully participate in whatever we do, I will have others available. Some of our staff may volunteer to help, and we have plenty of space in our building. It's fully accessible. It provides wonderful day services during the daytime hours, so we can space out and take folks to private space if they want to just listen to music, but we'll accommodate as best as possible to make it work for everyone.
And how many people will this accommodate?
I'm capping each session at 50, just because I don't want it to be too overwhelming. So it's important for folks to make reservations so we get an accurate food count. And at LifeLinksInc.net, there is a dedicated page under what we do for the Memory Cafe, so people can find in whenever the next session is ready to take registrants. Folks can register right there.
Right, so they can register online. Some people don't have computers, or don't, especially once you reach a certain age, you don't keep up with everything sometimes. So how else could they? They
can call me, and I've had plenty of folks doing that already. So my direct line is 978-349-3019, 978-349-3019. And call, and you can get some information. I can tell you about what's upcoming for programming, and so you know which session will be meaningful for you. And I've already, since we've been promoting this, I've already been getting some wonderful phone calls from spousal caregivers, sibling caregivers, adult children like us who were caring for our parents. So we've had some nice conversations, and most of our sessions are going to be in the spring when it's still light in the evening, and hopefully we don't have snow like the time that we're making this having this recording session. So the weather will be bright, and I'm hoping people will come out, so not just to enjoy the warm weather, but warm hearts of the people that will gather. So
that's great. So when you say 50, that's the caregiver and the person who suffers from the transplant.
Absolutely.
So it would be
and
25
and if it got to the point that we reached that 50 and there were a few more that we could let in, I'm not so rigid. We'll find a way to make it work. So I just don't, I want to be aware that people with Alzheimer's or dementia have some sensory issues, and Like I said, we can space out a bit if we need to during the session if people can't stay in the main room. But I want the caregivers to get a lot out of it as well. So I don't want to be too overwhelming for the group of folks that are there if it gets to be too many. But we'll make it work.
That sounds good. And it sounds like the caregivers will kind of get some pointers on how to handle things with
Yeah, so we're not, what my hope is, it's not so much pointers in how to handle their loved one as we would all like to get, but it's really, as a caregiver, we're into the must-dos. We have to do, certain things, the medical appointments and, medications. In fact, I wrote a book called The Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide, and a chapter of my book is put chocolate in your pill box. And because when we're into the caregiving role, we're so into pill boxes and making sure medication's given at the right time and the right dose. And the pill box is a metaphor for your calendar, and the chocolate's a metaphor for joy. So the idea is schedule joy in your calendar so you dose yourself regularly so you get some energy to keep doing what you're doing, because otherwise you burn out. And the Memory Cafe, I'm hoping, is going to be some people's joy, or the chocolate that they're putting in their pill box to come. So with some of the programming that we're doing, like the Dancing for Wellness and the art, what I'm hoping is that people will be able to take back home, if they've enjoyed the activity, that they now see a new way to engage with their loved one that's positive and meaningful, and that they can go home and do the same thing. So that's as far as we get in terms of teaching training. It's about hopefully having an uplifting activity that you feel like you can take home. And I think when it comes to movement and music and art, and there's a lot of that we can do at home. But when we're so into the day-to-day, a lot of people with Alzheimer's and dementia and their caregivers, when they're so into the journey of the disease, they often put aside hobbies and activities of interest because they're so focused on what they need to get done that they forget the things that they enjoyed. And we often just forget that, our spousal partner or our parent or a sibling that maybe we used to just sit and play a game with when things were in better times, or, go out to dinner together and enjoy the meal. Those things that we take for granted, we often aren't able to do in the same way anymore. So hopefully this can kind of kickstart some of the new ways of doing things with our loved ones.
So it's not so much teaching as modeling.
Modeling and enjoying the time together so that you could carry it back. And then I think the other part of the sessions too that I'm hoping, the model of the Memory Cafe actually started in the Netherlands back in 1997 and then spread throughout Europe. And how they worked initially, they were somewhat called Alzheimer's cafes, but then they moved away from the diagnosis to the memory. But groups, families with, that were caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, they were meeting literally in a cafe. And they were talking about their challenges and forming connections and friendships and bonds. So they would get together for these regular gatherings, and then some of them would have connections beyond. My hope is for the people that come together to this, that they won't just come once, once they come, they'll come again and again, and meet people that they didn't know that are going through a similar journey to themselves, and maybe they'll form new friendships, which could mean new support.
Wonderful. So this is under a grant program.
It's under a grant program, yes.
And grants end, as we all know.
Yes, yes.
And so beyond the grant, what's happening?
Sure. So the innovation mini grant that we got is meant to be a startup. So, and my hope is that when people in the community start using the service, and others, I've been trying to make the rounds of sharing what we're doing, and I'm looking forward to actually having the programming, that perhaps after the grant cycle runs out, that there may be some other organizations or folks that would be interested in sponsoring an individual session or sessions. So that we can continue to serve the food and bring in a guest facilitator that can do a special activity, because we'll continue to do it in our space. And perhaps too, I even say that I'm open to even, taking it on the road. If an organization, wants to host and sponsor an event, and it's within the greater Lowell area, we could certainly, certainly explore that too, perhaps for the fall.
That sounds like a plan.
I'm open to possibilities. You gotta, stay open to what can keep this going. But I think it's gonna be, I have confidence it's gonna be great for the people that participate.
I would think so, because there's such a need for something like that. What areas do you serve in Greater Lowell too, so people will know?
Sure. So pretty much throughout Lowell and into the Merrimack Valley, so Lowell, Chelmsford, Tingsboro, Billerica, really all of the surrounding towns. We actually have many staff who live in New Hampshire and work for us. So I think we're pretty embedded, within the Greater Lowell community. But like I said, our home office, our main office is in Chelmsford on 285 Mill Road.
Right.
So. But really, we have a number of homes throughout the community.
And this show is going to some of the local communities, so that's why I would make sure that they know.
Oh,
too.
sure.
And then, of course, a lot of people in Lowell know people in those other communities that can spread the word as well.
Well, I would love that, to spread the word, and I encourage people. I gave my number, earlier in this program, and if you have questions about what we do, and not just the Memory Cafe, but in terms of the other services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and supporting families. I have a dynamic team that I feel fortunate that I've joined that provides some amazing support. And if we don't have the answer, or we don't have the direct support, I know a lot of connections and people that will help facilitate getting them to the right place.
Oh, that's great. So now the Memory Cafe obviously is the newest, but you do have other programs and services. So can you tell us a little bit about what they do and who they serve? And
sure.
How many people do you serve?
I think about 600 families.
Wow.
In the Greater Lowell area, and like I said, we have close to 150 people that come to that office in Chelmsford every day for the day service program. So we have day habilitation services, and it's really amazing. I mean, if anybody is there in the morning just to see the energy of the transportation of folks coming off their vans and their transportation rides, either being dropped off by family members or having transportation vans come in, they're coming in with starting a great day. So there's a lot of therapeutic activities that happen during the day with really skill building, with activities of daily living. We actually have individuals that we serve, they're very medically complex, so don't just have an intellectual disability, but have other complex medical issues. And just like the rest of us who are dealing with health challenges, I mean, things come up, cancer, heart disease, so you have complex disabilities. So we have a wonderful clinical team as well as specialized services. So we have clinical staff, we have PT, OT, and other specialized services that work with folks. Some of the people that we serve in the day program, like I said, are also served in our residential services. So we have some of what folks would know as kind of traditional group homes that 3 to 5 individuals with a developmental disability live in the homes, and they basically have 24-hour staffing support that help them with activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, and money management, and helping to facilitate them getting out and integrating in the community, getting to church, getting to synagogue, volunteering. I know some of our individuals, I think, actually go and volunteer at the food bank in Lowell. So really want to be active members of the community. And then I mentioned there was one of my favorite, well, they're all my favorites. I shouldn't say a favorite because I don't want to certainly say that somebody is not
favorite in a different way, right?
Favorite in a different way. But a model that's actually growing that the Department of Developmental Services, who funds us, really wants to continue to enhance is shared living. And that's really the nearest thing I can say that's similar to that. It's kind of like adult foster care. So it's a person or family takes in an individual with a developmental disability. In fact, a number of people who lived in our group homes at first have moved into the shared living model. So they basically move into with a family in their family home, and they become a member of the family. So and that care provider, helps to make sure they attend all their medical appointments and helps them with whatever the goals that are set that will enhance and help them integrate as much into the community as possible. And then family support services. We support families that are raising children with autism, as well as complex and medically fragile children that are very medically fragile as well. They're living at home, and the services that are provided from family supports actually helps to keep these kids or young adults out of the residential system. It's about giving them a little bit of what they need to keep going. So, and we have resource. I know the family support team provides resource evenings and nights so that family members can gather information, and that's really a highlight of a lot of our training, except for the individuals. Like I said, we have a number of individuals who live in their own apartments who get intermittent supports. They're highly skilled, many work, hold a job in the community, but they just need some check-ins, case management kinds of check-ins to make sure they're taking care of what they need to take care of to get through life successfully.
And apparently you're successful at doing this.
I believe so. Not me alone, but a wonderful
plural.
team.
Yes.
Me plural, us with a wonderful team dedicated from administration and some amazing direct support professionals that really put themselves on the front line and provide some of the most intimate and caring support you can possibly provide. The other thing that's exciting about us starting the Memory Cafe, and one of my motivations for putting it out there, is I know I'm somebody who had worked in the field. I have worked direct care in the past. Is when a crisis happens in our own family, we tend to be the go-to people, those of us that are working in human services. And I know that there are a number of staff members that we have who are also, being challenged with personal caregiving that they need to do for, parents, spouses, and others as well. And so it's great. It's a great group.
Right. So you might want to mention again how they can contact and find out about these programs and the website.
Sure. So folks can find LifeLinks at lifelinksinc.net. And all of the programs are under the What We Do tab. And so you'll see all the programs I just mentioned, including the new Memory Cafe that we created a page for recently. And I encourage folks too, if you have any questions about any of our services, feel free to call me directly. Again, and I'm happy to put the person in touch with the right person that can help them with the service that they want to explore.
Right. So as well as direct help, I noticed too that you have something called representative payee services, and recalling how my great aunt, who died at 107, had so much.
Bless her.
Yeah, I know. Had so much trouble with this paying of bills and understanding the bills and all of that. So you might want to explain what that service is.
Well, a number of people who have who get Social Security benefits or SSI. For whatever reason or not, many of them are unable to manage their own money. So in some cases, family members step in to be, it's called a representative payee, which that person actually receives the benefit check and then, helps take care of the bills and make sure that the individual that they're getting a payment for also gets some spending money for their own sort of personal needs too. So we do, as an agency, we provide representative payee services to take care of that, make sure that everything is documented as needs to be, and that the benefits are used appropriately and for the individual that they're meant for. And we have a great team that oversees that to make sure that happens. And a number of folks that are in our services that we serve in our residential system, we actually are the rep payees as well, as they're called, the short-term representative pay, rep payee. So.
Rep payee. Shorthand for it.
Shorthand for it. Yes, absolutely.
So how many people do you employ, or not you, but LifeLinks Inc., to take care of all these things in this?
Yeah, so in total for the agency, I think we're close to 300 employees. So, and I believe about 160 are in the direct care role. So between, with 24 hours of service between residential and day services.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a nice team, and hopefully as we continue to add on, that we'll add other folks welcoming member to the team. I still consider myself a
That's
newbie
right. Yeah, it's
a bit.
not even a year yet.
It's not even a year yet, and still exploring so that we can, get involved in other services. So, which is great. The innovation comes from too, just the thing too, like I mentioned, there's a changing landscape. And we actually have sought and gotten, not me, but prior, some grants around something called LifeLinks, which a real important component for providing quality services to people with developmental disabilities is making sure they can communicate. Because we take for granted ourselves, like you and I are having this really wonderful conversation right now. But for many people, the ability to communicate verbally is not there. So really, things have come a long way with technology and tablet technology and iPads and others, really looking at ways that people can have other resources for communication. And that's something we work on with our clinical department to explore.
That's wonderful. All right. Thanks. Well, I think that's a lot of wonderful information for our viewers, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from some of them.
The more the merrier. I love chatting with people, and if anybody's caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, we've been down that path.
Exactly.
We know what it's like, and you can get a virtual hug on the phone as well in the conversation. So.
Oh, I love that. Yes, so needed.
Virtual hugs and put chocolate in the pillbox. That's
Wonderful advice. Well, I thank you so much for all this wonderful information, and I'm sure our viewers appreciate it too.
It's been my pleasure.
You'll probably be hearing from some of them, and let's one more time, website, phone number, email, all of that.
Sure, okay, I can do that. So our website is lifelinksinc.net. My email is my mbloom, MBLOOM, @lifelinksinc.net. And my phone number is 978-349-3019.
Well, thank you again. We'll see you next time.